This is the all-new 2022 Suzuki Katana. Now the Katana name goes all the way back to the 1980s when the original Katana, the GSX 1100S, was launched. Now that motorcycle was a legend. It is an iconic nameplate even today. So what Suzuki has done with the all-new Katana, well, it's a legend reborn. But the thing is, this motorcycle is all modern and it's cashing in on its forefather's success. So it has got all that sharp European styling, but underneath it is a liter class naked motorcycle like the GSX S1000. So the thing is, does this motorcycle do justice to its forefather? Does it live up to that name? Let's find out. The first thing we need to understand is what kind of motorcycle this is. Now, a lot of people confuse it for a sports tourer, but that's not the case actually. This is a naked motorcycle, as was the case with the original GSX 1100S, the original Katana. This is based on the same principles. It's got part from a super sport motorcycle, but the styling, well, it's totally different. It has got those sharp lines just like the original Katana. It has got these nice rakish angles and a boxy front end, which looks quite quirky but also very cool. Now again, the lights all over, these are modern, these are full LED lights, and it has got DRLs as well around here as well on the fairing. Now the indicator, they definitely stick out and they look a little odd, but that was the case with the original Katana as well, so I think that's why they have kept it like that. Now coming to the overall shape of the motorcycle, of course it looks a little front heavy, and that is the case because it is a totally different kind of motorcycle. I mean, it's something that you can't expect any other naked motorcycle. It is a Katana. It's been designed in Europe again, just like the original Katana was designed in Europe. This also has roots in Europe design wise. Now coming to the underpinnings, this motorcycle is based on the GSX S1000, the current naked liter class motorcycle from Suzuki. So it has got the same aluminum twin spar frame, and even the suspension is exactly the same. Now in terms of design, of course, it looks totally different, and I think I absolutely love this color in this matte blue finish, especially with those bronze wheels. It stands out and it looks quite quirky, it looks quite cool. On the internet and in the pictures you might not like it, it looks a little odd, but in person, in the flesh, this thing looks gobsmacking. You'll draw eyeballs wherever you go, and it looks so different for your regular run-of-the-mill Japanese motorcycles especially. The only motorcycle that I can compare it to is probably the Honda CB 1000R, which is not available in India, but that's the motorcycle that has got that neo-retro sort of touch. So for me, I think this is one of the main USPs of this motorcycle. It looks different, it looks quite cool, it looks stylish. Now this can go either way because you'll either love it or loathe it, because some people don't really understand this design, as it looks neither here nor there. It doesn't look like a proper sports bike, and at the same time it's not a naked as well. But overall, I just love the shape of this motorcycle, especially the rear swing arm. As you can see, it is sort of jutting out. The wheelbase is quite long. The rear section is quite stubby. That's also one of my favorite bits on this motorcycle, especially the tail lamps. When you see it from the back, it looks quite beefy. It has that sort of Hayabusa sort of a touch. So it has got that iconic design still. They have retained it, and I think it is a very cool looking motorcycle, which is something you don't expect from a brand like Suzuki or any Japanese brand for that matter. But I'm happy with the design. I'm happy with the overall quality as well. Of course, the fit and finish is not as great as you see on Ducatis or BMWs. Like for instance, you can see these weld points around here and they do look a bit ugly, but overall the quality of switch gears, everything you touch and feel, the seat especially, it's so wide, so comfortable, and has also got good support. So everything on this motorcycle, well, it is good quality. It is something that you expect at this price. Now some of the details that I absolutely love on this motorcycle, well, I'll tell you what, it comes with these Katana logos. They look quite cool. Like I said, it has that sort of mini Hayabusa sort of a touch. While the Hayabusa, I think it looks over the top, this looks a little understated, but it has got its unique design and unique flavor, so I quite like that. Similarly, on the handlebar, you have got this nice Katana logo. Every time you turn the ignition on, you see a Katana logo as well. So it is, you know, a throwback special, and it feels that way. So the name, the design, the attention to detail, I think on that front, I absolutely love this motorcycle. And if you're in two minds, if you think this is not a cool looking motorcycle, this doesn't look good, well, I'll suggest you see this motorcycle in the flesh and then make up your mind on its design, because in the flesh it looks absolutely gobsmacking. There's no denying that it's a very bulky looking motorcycle, but actually this is quite a lightweight, in the sense this weighs only 215 kilograms, and on the move you don't really feel the weight because the geometry is such, the balance is such that you don't really feel the weight of this motorcycle. It's very easy to maneuver. Again, we'll talk about handling and ride in a bit. So in terms of rider geometry, it is a very comfortable motorcycle. The bars are quite high and wide, and you sit upright here. There is absolutely no crouching down. It's not very aggressive, and at the same time it's not too laid back as well. It finds that middle ground between being sporty and comfortable. So I quite like it. If you are commuting, if you're riding in the city, you'll enjoy this riding position, and especially the seat is also quite supportive. It's very cushiony and very wide, so when you're riding this motorcycle in the city, it is really effortless in that sense. Coming to the seat height, it is 825 millimeters, so I'm 5'8", and I can flat foot it quite easily. So like I said, it doesn't really feel its weight, and even if you're a rider of short height, you can ride it quite comfortably. Taller riders will also find it very comfortable and accommodating because the foot pegs are set really low and the rider triangle is not that aggressive. Plus again, the handlebars are quite up, so you're not really putting a lot of weight on your wrist. So overall, I'd say in terms of comfort and practicality, this motorcycle absolutely nails it because of the ergonomics. Now, where it loses points is in terms of tank capacity. Now, it looks like a big tank, but it has only got 12 liters of capacity. So that is very less for a motorcycle that is powered by a 1000cc engine, produces 150 bhp. So it is a gas guzzler of sorts. You're not going to get more than 18 to 20 kilometers to a liter. So the range is quite compromised. If you plan to go on long trips, that's where it will suffer. Now, the other thing that could have been better is the instrument cluster. It looks very basic. It's an LCD screen. Of course, it has got all the telltale lights, and you've got a lot of electronic aids now with this motorcycle, but it looks a little too basic. It has got two modes. One is night mode, where it turns all orange at night, and daytime it has got a nice crisp white layout. So in terms of functionality, it doesn't really suffer. It tells you everything, but again, it doesn't look like a big motorcycle. For me personally, it's not a deal breaker, but some of you who have been coming up, let's say from a KTM 390 Duke that has got a color TFT, and even smaller bikes, they have those sort of things, but this just doesn't have. So probably in that area you will feel the pinch. Now, in terms of rider aids, this gets 5 level of traction control, plus you can also turn it off completely. And now this motorcycle also comes with 3 ride modes, A, B and C. So A is the most aggressive, B is in the middle, and C is the most conservative. Now in all 3 modes you get full power and full torque, but the maps are different. Let's say in C it's going to be conservative, lower down, as an initial throttle response is a little subdued, but as you go higher up in the rev range, that's where the full potential of this engine is unleashed. But in A and B modes, well, it is a little lenient on that front, so you get more power and more grunt. Now that is about the rider aids. It doesn't get lean sensitive traction control and lean sensitive ABS. Of course, it has got dual channel ABS, and that's non-switchable. The star of the show here is undoubtedly its power plant, which is an inline 4 999cc screamer. This engine is actually 17 years old. That said, this isn't just any engine. That's because it's derived from the 2005 GSX R1000 superbike, or the K5 as it's popularly known among enthusiasts. Long story short, it's considered to be one of the greatest leader class superbikes in history. And the engine was so good that back in the day, when BMW was developing the S1000RR's powertrain, they benchmarked it against the K5 engine. Now, in the current guise, this long-stroke inline-4 engine has received major updates to make it comply with the current emission norms. So, it's cleaner and a little less violent than before. However, that's not to say that it's docile, for it's still a force to reckon with. At idle, it's silky smooth, and that behavior doesn't change even when you rev it out. Performance-wise, it starts delivering a heavy dose of torque from as low as 3000 rpm. The power delivery is seamless, and its close ratio gearbox allows you to ride at low speeds in higher gears without any trouble. It has to be said that the engine puts the power down in a neat and non-dramatic manner until you decide to go all out. Once you rev it past 6000 engine revs, the Katana turns into an absolute animal. While the motor feels tame, flexible and friendly at low speeds, it goes ballistic at high revs. The acceleration is simply mind-blowing and it delivers that typical spine-tingling fervor of a liter-class superbike. Couple this with a deep induction growl and a screaming inline 4, and what you get is a bike capable of putting you in a state of sensory overload. Not only is this engine an absolute peach in terms of performance, it produces magnificent noises as well. That's because it's an inline 4 that has come from the K5. That was an all-time screamer. Now, I'm not going to talk much. I'm just going to crank this engine up and you guys just listen to that noise. As standard, the Katana is fitted with fully adjustable suspension, and that's good news because it has got 43mm KYB front forks. They get adjustability for both rebound damping as well as compression damping. And at the back, you've got a monoshock that is also fully adjustable, and it also has preload settings. Now, of course, there are a lot of settings to choose from, but right from the box, I rode this motorcycle just for a day. So my first impressions, well, it is a very comfortable motorcycle. The ride quality is really brilliant. If you're riding it in the city, you don't really feel the bumps. Of course, it's not plush. You can't call it plush, but it's something that's manageable. Now, the front fork, it does feel a little stiff at times, but overall, I think in the city and even when you're out for a nice cruise, this is a very absorbent suspension, and I think you can live with it quite comfortably, especially if you're riding on the road. Now, if you plan to do hardcore corner carving or you want to take it on a track day, of course that's possible because, like I said, it has got adjustable suspension, so you can just tune it up as per your requirements. Whatever you want from the bike, you can really stiffen it up, and there are a lot of things to play around. But the motorcycle, I feel it's not meant for that sort of riding where you just go all out. Again, this is not a super bike, it's a motorcycle for the road, and that's how the riding ergonomics are. You've got these wide bars and they are quite tall as well, so you've got a lot of leverage, but when you really have to push it around corners, you're not putting a lot of weight at the front, and I think it feels a little relaxed in that sense. So if you are really pushing it around corners, and that's why this motorcycle feels a little hesitant, I'd say. It just turns in that quickly. The steering is a little relaxed. It doesn't just go in a jiff. You really have to take it with a calmer approach. You can't really push it, you can't really drop it aggressively because it doesn't feel like that. The other thing is, of course, the rear suspension that I felt was tuned for more sort of comfort-oriented riding, because when you really push it hard, it's the rear that tends to step out, and that's where I think the geometry is such that the front is very bitey. The front has got that handling, but the rear, it does feel a little soft for my liking. I think, again, you can change the settings, you can fiddle with the suspension, it's fully adjustable, so maybe you can sort it out. As for the tires, it comes fitted with Dunlop Sport Max Road Sport 2 tires, and they are quite good tires. In fact, if you're riding it fast also, the feedback is quite good, but they're not, again, outright superbike tires, because the initial feedback from the tires, they're not really warmed up. When you've not done a couple of rounds on these lovely roads, they do tend to feel a little inert in that way. But again, you really have to spend more time with the motorcycle, and we didn't really do hardcore cornering today, but these are my first impressions. So this is not an outright corner carver like other naked motorcycles. It's a little relaxed. It's not that serious, I'd say, but at the same time, it has got that engine that'll keep you entertained all the time. So you have to be careful with the throttle because it just goes, it just shoots forward if you touch the throttle. It's got a lot of power. So that's what you have to be careful about. But once you learn the behavior of this motorcycle, it is a very effortless and easygoing lead class motorcycle. So if you don't want to do track days every weekend, well, this is a motorcycle that you can consider, especially if you want that kind of firepower, that inline 4 engine. I'll just buy this motorcycle for that engine alone. Now, one thing is for sure, like the original Katana, this one is not going to disrupt the motorcycle industry as such, because it's a motorcycle that is something we've seen before, as in a lot of manufacturers are now trying this neo retro concept where they get the nameplate from 80s or 90s and then they have a modern package. So in that regard, it doesn't really redefine the segment. But of course, the Katana name is back, and it is a very cool looking motorcycle. First things first, that's what I absolutely love about this motorcycle. It doesn't look conventional, it doesn't look like a naked, it looks totally different, and it looks badass, and it looks very cool. And the reason it stands out even more and you love it even more is because of the fact that it is a Suzuki. So Suzuki is known to be a little conservative, used to be conservative. So this Katana, again, it has got that sharp styling and it has got superbike performance as well. What actually seals the deal for me is the pricing. This is priced at 13.60 lakh. Now, for that kind of money, you're not going to get any inline 4 screamer that produces 150 bhp. I think the next best bike is the Kawasaki ZX-10R. It's a proper track tool. It's not a motorcycle that can be used on the road. But as far as naked motorcycles go, I think the next best option you have is the Speed Triple RS, which is also at 18 lakh ex-showroom. So that makes this look like an absolute bargain. Now, of course, it doesn't get all those modern electronic bits, but whatever it has, I think it makes perfect sense. And 150 bhp is no less for our roads, for any roads. Even if you are doing track days, this is a lot of power. And the absolute best part about this motorcycle is that performance feels effortless everywhere. Wherever you take this motorcycle, on the city, on the highway, even on some nice twisty roads, you're not going to feel that that's a lot more power, because the torque spread is so great. This motorcycle rides beautifully everywhere. Even if you want to commute every day, it's so comfortable, it's so agile, and you can just ride in traffic without a care in the world. So for me, that's what this motorcycle is all about. Of course, that Katana name is there. It is iconic. It stands out. It has got that X factor as well. But overall, as a motorcycle, I'd sum it up as a super bike that can do it all. And at the same time, it doesn't look that serious or that focused. It's not one-dimensional anymore. This is a motorcycle that's cool, and at the same time, it's also got raw and mad performance.